The invitation. It began on a rain-soaked evening in late October, when the wind hissed through the eaves like a chorus of lost things. Amelia Hawthorne, a young librarian with a lifelong aversion to the supernatural, was poring over overdue notices when the power flickered and died. The library's great windows rattled with wind, and the only light came from the pale glow of her phone. That's when the first message arrived. "I know you're alone. I'll be there at midnight." No sender, no signature, just those 6 words, dripping with promise and threat. Amelia stared at the screen, heart pounding. She tried to dismiss it as a prank, until her phone slipped from her hand and clattered across the desk, as though pushed by an unseen force. 2. The waiting. At home, Amelia double-checked every lock on her front door. The rain had turned the driveway slick, and she could see her reflection, wide-eyed, pale, staring back from the glass. Midnight approached like an undertow, pulling her deeper into anxiety. She brewed tea by candlelight, but the flame trembled as though terrified. Every clock in the house ticked in cruel unison. 10 minutes to midnight. 5. 3. Then, a single deliberate knock. It didn't echo. It didn't linger. It simply came, soft but insistent, from her front door. 3. The first glimpse. Amelia pressed her forehead against the cool wood. Outside, rain ran down the porch light in oily rivulets. She peered through the peephole. In the distorted circle of glass stood a figure, tall, cloaked in dripping darkness. No face, only 2 faint points of light where eyes might have been. She couldn't scream. Instead, she backed away. But the knocking resumed, louder this time, thundering in her ears like a heartbeat gone mad. V. The descent. Amelia fled to the basement, the only place she felt remote, removed from the front door. A single bare bulb swung overhead, casting twisted shadows in the corners. She found the old boiler room key, the one her grandmother had warned her never to use, and unlocked a heavy hatch in the floor. Beyond it lay a narrow stairway descending into pitch black. She hesitated only a moment before the knocking above turned frantic, tearing at the panels with invisible claws. With trembling hands, Amelia lit a lone flashlight and stepped down, the hatch swinging shut behind her. The forgotten corridor. Below the house, the cellar branched into crumbling passageways lined with ancient bricks. Water dripped from unseen pipes, hissing as it hit puddles on the floor. Amelia's breath formed clouds in the beam of her flashlight. After what felt like miles, she came to a pair of double doors, painted black, long since chipped away. Across the surface were carved words in a language she didn't recognize. Her heart thundered as she pressed a hand to the cool wood and pushed. The doors creaked open to reveal a room furnished like a parlor from another century. Velvet chairs draped in dust covers stood in a circle. In the center, a small table held a weathered porcelain doll. Its eyes were unsettlingly lifelike, and in its outstretched hand lay Amelia's phone. Screen cracked, but still glowing. The message read, "You came." Verse. The doll's whisper. Amelia backed away, but her foot struck something soft. The doll toppled, and in that instant she heard it. A soft, high whisper, trailing through the dark corners. "Thank you for inviting me in." Her hair stood on end. She plucked the doll from the floor. The porcelain face stared up at her, lips curved in a mocking semblance of a smile. "It's cold," she managed, voice trembling. The doll's head turned, impossibly smooth without joints, and its painted lips parted in silence. Then, "You're mine now." 7th. The ritual. The air grew thick, as though the walls themselves were exhaling. The flashlight flickered, shadows peeled away from corners, growing limbs writhing like hungry things. Amelia stumbled back, the doll clutched to her chest. Behind her, the parlor door slammed shut. Panic surged. She pounded on the door, it wouldn't budge. The doll's weight felt suddenly leaden in her arms. She looked down at it, and its eyes had changed. Now they were great black pits, bottomless. A voice, loud and dry as rust. "You opened the door. The deal is sealed." The candles around the table ignited, their pale flames illuminating symbols etched into the floor, circles, runes, and the shape of a key. The doll levitated, hovering above the table. Amelia's pulse thundered as she realized the truth. The house wasn't abandoned, and she wasn't merely frightened. She was the final ingredient in a ritual older than memory. Vet, the escape. She dropped the flashlight, scrambled crawling away. The cellars seemed endless, corridors folding back on themselves. Behind her, whispers sprouted like thorns, chasing her through the labyrinth. Each voice echoed her own name in cruel whispers. At the end of one passage, she found a rusted ladder leading up. She climbed, claws raking at her heels. Finally, the hatch above her swung open just enough for a sliver of light. With everything she had left, Amelia hoisted herself up, only to face the masked figure again, drenched in rain, standing just outside her basement door. It lifted a hand. The doll appeared in its grip, head cocked toward her. "Welcome back," it rasped. "Ein." The return, Amelia found herself on the porch, soaked and shivering. But she knew it was a trap. Once you let something in, it never leaves. The front door behind the figure parted, revealing the blackened parlor windows deep within the house. The lights within glowed bright. She ran into the night, the doll clutched under her arm. Behind her, the estate sighed, setting loose a swirl of leaves and laughter that followed her down the drive. The aftermath days. Later, Amelia sits in her apartment in the city, trying and failing to sleep. The doll rests in a box on her bookshelf, its face turned away. She tells herself that she'll mail it back to her grandmother's house or bury it in the woods, anything to make it stop. But every night at exactly midnight, her phone buzzes with a new message. "I miss you." And the doll's head in the gloom turns just enough for those black pits to stare back, hungry once more. 10 minutes have passed. The doll sits at the edge of your bed. Has it moved since you started reading? Maybe you're alone. Maybe you're not. Sweet dreams.